Well, hello, my dear friends, my dear viewers. Welcome back after only 7 months and 1 day, sorta. My last video was November the 11th of last year, so hello, how are you doing? I am fine. Now that I'm back, I could not possibly be better. And today, with a very special theme, a very special topic, something that touches my very heart and my very soul, my favorite gaming franchise of the moment, as you can see by the title, Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Now, what I'm going to talk about today is, as you can see, a little bit of a history contextualization. I'm going to talk a little bit about the time period that the game will be set and how that ties into the Assassin's Creed lore. I've been hearing and I've been reading and I've been seeing a lot of people discrediting this new entry on the series to not be a really Assassin's Creed title. To some extent I agree, to another extent I don't. In this video and others to come that I have planned, I have like 2 or 3 more videos planned for this, I will explain a little bit of my reasoning beyond that. So, let us begin. Without further ado, it's good to be back and it's good to have you back as well if you'll have me. So, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, set no more no less than somewhat 300 years before Assassin's Creed Origins. Assassin's Creed Origins goes from 49 BCE to about 43 BCE, counting the Hidden Ones DLC. And Assassin's Creed Odyssey will start at around, and allow me to see my notes, I have some notes here. Assassin's Creed Odyssey will most likely start from 448 BCE. But that's not the beginning of the period that the game is going to be set in, the Peloponnesian Wars. You are absolutely right. Why do I say it starts on this date? Because we've been told that there will be a 70 years time skip between the beginning of the game, in which we'll see the main protagonist's childhood, and the actual beginning of the adventure, which will be in the beginning of the period known as the Peloponnesian Wars, 431 BCE. The wars themselves, the wars that led to the period known as Peloponnesian Wars, started a little bit earlier than that, but the main period started in 431 and it goes to about 404 BCE. So we're looking at 27 years of running gaming time plus the 70 years of the time skip. That gives us 44-ish years in all together, and perhaps a little bit more if we take into consideration that Leonidas is in play, and we could very well see the battle that he's famous for, which is the Battle of the Thermopylae. I am possibly butchering this name, but if you saw the movie 300, which I haven't by the way, don't tell anyone, which I haven't, you'll know the battle that goes there. It's the battle that made the story of Leonidas famous to the world, and it's where he died. It's where the Spartans were defeated eventually by the Achaemenid, the Persian Empire, whose name I am forgetting. Achaemenid Empire. That's the name. Achaemenid Empire, which would later turn out to be their allies in the Peloponnesian War. So I guess that battle really didn't make any sense. But that's classic history for you. That's history for you. Okay, so we start the game. We discover that the protagonist is a descendant. We already know that the protagonist is a descendant of Leonidas, and this is the very first important thing that we were told. The character will start the game from its very childhood with a piece of Eden, a bloody piece of Eden, the spear of Leonidas itself, which is clearly, and it's been said, that it's a piece of Eden. Mind, though, that it's broken. So for all of you who are saying, oh, that's overpowered, that he already starts with a piece of Eden artifact, it's way too overpowered, it's not going to be fun. Mind you that the spear is broken. Now, I don't know, we don't really know how pieces of Eden work, We know that they are powerful artifacts, even when smashed. I think one of the staffs was smashed in one of the comics, like the Russian one, Nikolai Orlov's one. I believe the whole idea behind it was there was a shard of the staff, and I believe that was the thing that caused the Tunguska explosion. I'm not really sure. The lore on the comics is a little obscure to me because I don't really care about the comics that much, to be honest. I haven't read a single one of them. Possibly I will never do. I consider their lore, but just when I need to consider it for anything else. Otherwise it doesn't exist for me. So, here's the first most important point that I want to stress out, that I have stressed out for a few friends, is that Odyssey will provide possibly the best scenario for one of the biggest parts of Assassin's Creed lore to be explored. The first civilization. We've been getting tidbits here and there ever since Assassin's Creed 1 with the Apple of Eden, but just very little things, cryptographic things. In 2 was a little bit better with Minerva appearing and giving all that mumbo jumbo message. We're not talking to you, we're talking to Desmond. Look where that led. But we saw how their civilization fell with that accident, with the big worldwide explosion. The same thing that was going to happen in Assassin's Creed 3, but didn't end up happening because of the big sacrifice that we are still not over. So, little tidbits here and there. Black Flag kind of butchered it. There was really nothing on the first civilization aside from the observatory, the cubes with the blood. That's probably the biggest thing, and even that has been forgotten. Rogue, we found out that Juno was inside the Abstergo servers for some reason. Unity, we really didn't get anything on modern day terms about the first civilization. Inside the game we got the Sword of Eden, we got an apple on the Dead Kings DLC. In Syndicate there was a little bit more. We found the Shroud, something that sadly transitioned into the comics, which I'm not familiar with, so I think Juno has been revived in there or something or another. I don't really know. I think that comic is about to end or has ended. I don't know. If you guys know, please do let me know. Do enlighten me a little bit on that. So, Origins, when going back, Origins did a really good thing. I've been playing in fact, I just finished the DLC Curse of the Pharaohs a few days ago, like a week or so ago, and that's really interesting because we see how far. I mean, we could already imagine how far the first civilization influence went, but we see just how far it went. Like, Egyptian pharaohs had control of artifacts. That's pretty cool. And we got to see how that plays out, how that activated that sort of shenanigans. And sorry, by the way, spoilers if you haven't yet played Origins. It's DLCs. And yeah, if you really haven't played any of the other Assassin's Creeds, yeah, spoiler alert, I guess. Sorry about that in advance. So, we see how that can interfere in the normal plane of things, which is something that we haven't seen before because, to be honest, it doesn't add. It doesn't make sense to have legends of lore coming to life in Victorian London. Mind you, it would be cool, but it's just not as rich and not as proposed to that. Ancient Egypt, ancient Greece, hell, even ancient Rome, which is probably where the games will be heading next. I am able to bet on that, if you will. Ancient Rome will appear before we go anywhere else, because we're closing the cycle. Ancient Egypt, ancient Greece. If ancient Rome isn't the next, I'll be a little surprised, which could or could not be a good thing. So, we touched on that. Now let's go back to the Peloponnesian Wars. The wars were between the Delian League of Athens and the Peloponnesian League led by Sparta. The reason why it all started, summing it all up a little bit, I'm not going to lose a lot of time in that because there's really 27 years of history is a long time period to come up with a script during your work hours. You don't really get the time to research a lot of the Peloponnesian Wars during 8 hours of work, in which you can't really be stopping to do this. So the wars basically started because Athens was expanding its empire. It was conquering territories, amassing wealth, and Sparta was like, I don't think so. I don't like what you're doing there, so I think we've been peaceful enough, and now we're gonna fight a little bit. There were wars, there was fighting, there was truce, there was a lot of things. Athens making use of the Aegean Sea to raid Peloponnesian shores, just going back and forth with all this. Sparta eventually won the Peloponnesian Wars, I believe with the aid of the Achaemenid Empire. I'm not sure, you guys can read a little bit more on that if you'd wish. I'm gonna leave links to my sources, which really, let's be honest, it's Wikipedia. I'm gonna leave links to that in the description if you guys are interested in seeing. So yeah, basically Sparta won, which is why I think that the hero's journey that we've been hearing, rise from a common mercenary into a legendary Spartan hero, our character, either Alexios or Cassandra, will rise to that and they'll become the legendary Spartan hero at the end of the Peloponnesian Wars, at the Peloponnesian League's victory. Now, speaking of the characters, and a little bit of an interesting fact that I found out, you see the logo for Assassin's Creed Odyssey? That A shape with the helmet inside, that A looks very similar to the normal Assassin's Creed insignia, right? Now, I thought that they just took the insignia, just make it shaped like that because it was simple, and put the helmet in the middle. But actually, that insignia is actually based on Sparta's symbol. The Spartan army used the lambda symbol to represent Lacedaemon, something along those lines, which was the ancient name for Sparta. Sparta was once known as Lacedaemon. So when you see we saw on one of the videos on the clothes of Alexios and Cassandra two sort of like holder things for the vests, like they're keeping them together with that symbol. And I looked at that and say, why are they using the assassin's insignia if there aren't really any assassins? Which was then when I was researching about Sparta and whatnot, that I found that it's actually the lambda symbol. Really, really, really interesting about that. Just a little tidbit. So, another thing that has bugged a lot of people, not really me, because I really don't see why all the fuss is about. I saw a little bit, but when I was mistaken that they were brother and sister. Alexios and Cassandra are not related. In fact, if one exists, the other does not. They are two separate people, and you'll be the one to choose who's the descendant of Leonidas. Which is both interesting and not, because it raises a whole lot of sort of questions about continuity, and to be honest, I'm not gonna go in there right now. So, why two separate people? Why not make the journey, again, like Origins perhaps, or Syndicate, have a brother and a sister just venturing out the world, and make them interchangeable? We don't need to be, again, like Syndicate, in which you had specific missions for Evie and specific missions for Jacob, which, to be honest, I sort of enjoyed, but sort of not, because Evie only got like 1 or 2 missions per sequence, and the missions didn't really favor her because she was just cleaning up after Jacob's mess. So they could have gone an interesting route and having like dual protagonists again, and make their actions really matter, like have different approaches to them. In this case, it's just a skin. If you want to be a dude, you be Alexios. If you want to be a girl, you be Cassandra. That's really the point. It raises continuity problems, but I'll focus on that when I actually make a video on them, which is planned to be released. So, most of you might be stuck on the female protagonist, Shenaningans. Know that in Sparta, women actually had a lot more rights than any other civilization at the time. They were not only allowed to participate in the same activities as men, they were encouraged to do so. Women had really a prominent role in Spartan society. They were not just the stay-at-home, make children and care for the house woman. It was a choice. They could choose what they wanted to do. They could own property, they could manage their own husband's property if they died. It's really interesting, and that's why it works to have a female protagonist that's so deep into the action, unlike Aya on the previous game, that was really just there for a couple of missions and to serve as Cleopatra's bodyguard until she eventually became what she became. I'm not gonna say it because I don't want to be that much of a spoiler. So yeah, until she gets to the end and becomes what she becomes. So it bugs me a little bit that we are forced to choose, because they seem to be really cool characters if they were worked properly. The fact that if you choose Alexius, Cassandra doesn't exist, and the vice versa, it buggers me a little bit. It seems like a lost opportunity. Now, let me see, what else do I have? I'm sorry because I'm looking at this because I didn't really have the time to study a lot. Now, staying on the character side, as I've said, they're going to be a descendant of Leonidas, and according to an interview done on Game Informer, King Leonidas is believed to have had the legendary first civilization DNA blood, which means Alexius and Cassandra, whichever one you choose, will have that same DNA. This is huge. We know that the likes of Ezio, Altai, the Kenways, Shay, all of the protagonists we've had so far have a relation to the precursors. They are somewhat descendants of precursors. But the farther we go back, the more that connection happens, the more potential it has. Right now, Alexius and Cassandra are the closest we have to descendants of Adam and Eve. Again, this is a topic that I will talk a lot more when I do the video about them, but just make sure that you keep this in mind. They are not just random characters who will become a legendary Spartan hero. They are the closest people we have right now. One of them is the closest people we have right now. The closest person we have now to first civilization. And they'll show that by using from the start the Spear of Leonidas. A new piece of Eden, finally a new piece of Eden. I don't know if we had learned that there was a spear before. If we had, my mistake. But yeah, this is very, very huge. And I'm really looking forward to see how that will mingle in the game. Because we saw on the trailers, we've been seeing mystical creatures appearing. We saw the Medusa, we saw Minotauras, and I believe that's about it. But I'm sure there will be more. Trials of the Gods will most likely return, and I'm guessing Poseidon, Zeus and Hades will be the big three that will fight. Much like in Origins we just have Sobek, Sekhmet and Anubis. So if they just keep three, we'll have Zeus, Hades and Poseidon. Maybe Artemis? Is Artemis a Greek goddess? I think she is. Artemis, the goddess of the hunt? Yeah. Again, you can only do so much when you have that sort of time. Now, I think that the Medusa and the Minotauras will be sort of like, and spoiler ahead, will be like the serpent sequence in Origins. The serpent sequence is not real, it's an hallucination. I forgot the origin of the hallucination. I don't remember when he got it. And yeah, I enjoyed it, but I sorta thought it was just... It was a cool representation of the fact that he was looking for the serpent of the Order of the Ancients. So yeah, it kinda gave that look. This is your objective, let's see if you can take it down. But apart from that, it felt a little bit loosened out of the way. But now, the thing is, if that's not hallucinations, what will they be? I mean, they can't be real, Minotaurus and Medusa. Even in Assassin's Creed, I believe it would be a little bit... It will be pushing the bar a little bit too much. So, what else do we have? Speaking of the serpent and the Order of the Ancients, there's a high chance... This is probably the last topic I'll be speaking, because I think it's the last thing I have. Let me just check. I have so much stuff on this notebook. It's amazing. Okay, so, yeah, speaking of the Order of the Ancients, I gotta check this out because there's a name here that's very, very complicated. Okay, there's a high chance that we're gonna see the Order of the Ancients. Why, you say? Because the Order of the Ancients was actually created, and once again, spoilers for the Curse of the Pharaohs DLC. This is not really stated in the DLC, I just found it out on the wiki, on the Assassin's Creed official wiki. The Order of the Ancients was actually created around 1334 BCE. So that's like 1,000 years before, 900 and something years before the events of Odyssey, let alone the events of Origins, when the actual first Brotherhood of Assassins was created. So there's like 1,300 years, more or less, between the two. And the Order of the Ancients was created by the Pharaoh Smankakase. Something along those lines. It was the father of one of the pharaohs. I can look the name really quick on the wiki, and I can post his page down below. Yeah, the founder of the order was Smenkhkare. Yeah, again, very easy name to say. He was the brother of Tutankhamun, so yeah, maybe he was the one controlling his brother when he did all the sorts of things we found out he did on the Curse of the Pharaohs DLC. So, and maybe we saw in a gameplay that Alexia's or Cassandra's father throws them off a cliff right at the beginning of the game. Maybe their father is a member of the Order of the Ancients. Or maybe he's just being manipulated by one into doing so. But with what purpose? If any purpose at all? Is he being controlled with an apple and not really thinking what he's doing? We don't know, and we'll have to wait and see. But I think that that's the point that will turn the family apart. The father either being an Order of the Ancients member or being controlled by one, separates the kid from the family, or maybe he's just trying to protect him. Hear me saying that he's being a huge ass, and he's just trying to protect his kid, which is totally possible, because I think that it has been said, or it has been shown in the video, that it's not their father that is the descendant of Leonidas, it's their mother. Because I saw in one of the many videos that were released, I saw that their mother gives one of them the spear and says something like, "My father will do this." She gave them the spear and said something about her father. So if it's her father, maybe it's either Leonidas or Leonidas' son. So maybe he was coerced by the Order of the Ancients because they knew that his kid had the precursor DNA. He was a direct descendant of the first Civ, or maybe he's just trying to protect him by sending him into the sea and they later discover that and vow for revenge against the Order of the Ancients. There's these enemies in the game that's like it's not the auras, the Cosmos, it's the Cult of Cosmos. It's the new enemies of the game. Maybe the Cult of Cosmos is a branch. It's like the Greek branch of of the Order of the Ancients. I don't know. Maybe that'll be it, and maybe that's what will start the game. So I talked a little bit about the setting. Sorry that I didn't talk a lot more about the Peloponnesian Wars, but you can guess what they are. They were wars between Athens and Sparta. We've seen some of what's, I believe, called conquest battles. I think those will play a little bit around the same time of the wars, because there are a lot of wars, a lot of battles, like invasions of Athens, peace times that are then broken, expeditions to Sicily. I think Athens raids or tries to raid Sicily, and yeah, then there's the eventually triumph of the Peloponnesian League by the aid of, I believe, Commander Lysander, which is one of the players of the Peloponnesian League. Oh yeah, speaking about that, just really to finish it off, we saw that Socrates is going to be in the game. He's the first historical character to be confirmed. There are a few others that could make an appearance, mainly the commanders of each army. There's the Delian League commanders, Pericles, Cleon, Nicias, Alcibiades, and I'm not going to try to read the last one, Demosthenes, something along those lines. And then there's the commanders on the Peloponnesian side, Archimedes II, which I believe, no, it was the king of Sparta. We are probably meeting him in the game. Maybe he's a member of the Order of the Ancients. Who knows? Then there was Brasidas, Lysander, which I've just mentioned. He was the one responsible for the victory. And then there's Alcibiades. Man, these Greeks have some names. Whew. Okay, yes, these were the generals. It's probable that we'll see some of them. Hell, the ones from the Delian League might even be assassination targets. 3 of them were found dead by the war. One of them was killed in action, and the others were sentenced to death with capital punishment, which is penalty of death. Actually, on the Peloponnesian side, supposedly, only one of them was killed in action. So maybe we'll see those events. Maybe we'll build a relation with the with the leagues, with the Spartans commanders, and we'll see them pan out. Maybe those are the historical figures, because to my knowledge there aren't really any known historical figures. Then again, as I said, I haven't researched a lot. So yeah, long story short, I think that the game has a very huge chance to start in the Battle of the Thermopylae with Leonidas, his spear breaking and being taken back to his family, and then jumping towards the part where it's given to the protagonist, and then it jumps forward the 17 years that they say it's going to be, and we start the game, and we go on to make our epic Odyssey with either Alexius or Cassandra. As I've said, I'm going to be back. I have 3 more topics that I want to discuss. I'm just going to tell you them, just so you can look forward to them and maybe give your opinions on them, so I can start thinking about and considering your opinions as well. So, topic number 1 was this: the setting, the historical contextualization, and just the characters in a little bit. The next topic will probably be Alexius and Cassandra, the characters themselves, just themselves, with the little that we know, their possible relationship with Adam and Eve being their most direct descendants that we know of, as well as the spear. I'm gonna mix the spear in there a little bit. I want to try to talk about the noticeable changes that we saw from the gameplays. For that, I'm going to see a lot of the gameplays that I've played out, and I'm going to compare them with my own experience on Origins. I've just finished Origins a couple days back. I'm going to play around with it a little bit more, have a taste of the combat, compare it visually to the combat on Odyssey. There were some changes that were pointed out to me by some friends. They say that the dodge is a little bit slower, a little bit more sluggish, and that the enemies don't spam as much attacks as they did. So that's the idea that they passed me. And the fourth topic is possibly one of the most complicated, which is the connection between the overall AC story and the modern day. That's the topic, that's the hot topic of the moment. That's where people are saying, this is not AC, this is just an ancient Greek RPG with Assassin's Creed on its name. I'm not gonna buy this game, not even if they offer it for free. Well, I'm sad to hear that. I hope that during the next months, the next weeks that the game is announced and told out to us, that we'll be able to change our minds a little bit. I gotta say, I'm an Assassin's Creed fanboy. My gaming experience was forged on Assassin's Creed. I know that's a little bit sad to say, but I really started gaming more when I experienced Assassin's Creed 1. I played Assassin's Creed 1 and I was like, this is it. I want more of this, and I've been getting more and more each year. Even the games that I say are not as good as the others, Assassin's Creed 3 and Assassin's Creed Unity possibly are the most common known to be not great, I enjoyed. And I believe Odyssey will not disappoint. My goodness, the trailers look gorgeous. I'm looking so much forward to talk about them a lot more. But that will have to stay for another time. I don't know when I'll be back. I will not make any promises. I made those before. And 7 months later, here we are again, so I'm not gonna make any promise. You'll just have to wait and see. I'll be back, that's the only thing I can say to you, and I see you then. Thanks for watching, and please leave your opinions in the comment section down below, either here or on Facebook, because I think I'll post this on Facebook on a specific group. So, I'm looking forward to read what you have to say, and bye bye.